Hello everyone, Treecks here, and welcome back to Let's Play Super Treecks Originals World. We were done with that, right? We completed the last Super World. Yeah, the Super World was completed, but Super Treecks Original World wasn't. We have 16 worlds to go through because of having 80 levels. Part 2 will get started today. Hopefully we'll receive a couple of new interesting levels. Because all of the new levels I have created, not all of them have been shown off. And all of the levels that have been uploaded, the best ones are yet to come. Those are all going to be present in this final part of Super Treecks Originals World. So let's get started. Because why the hell not? Okay, last week I actually did a couple of last minute changes. Because unlike the first part of Super Treecks Originals World, where I just kept the standard overworld intact. In the second part, I actually did create my own overworld, but it wasn't completed yet. I did not remember that, but apparently World 5 wasn't connected fully, so I actually worked on this one last week a little bit. But now it should be fine, it should be fully clearable. All 40 courses are reachable, all 40 courses will be played. I switched characters to Toad this time around. The next 4 worlds are going to be his deal. Okay, let's go get started. Finally, back into the swing of things. Pay no attention to that World 1 that's in the top left of the corner. It's World 9. I'm not going to edit that because it's way too much of a hassle. I'm just going to get started. The Chase 2. Hey man, we haven't even played the Chase 1 yet. What the hell? We'll see that later, I guess. But okay, here we have the Chase 2. It actually makes use of bullet bills on Lakitu clouds. How is that going to be a thing? Anyway, let's get started. Because this is actually a pretty interesting way to work with being chased. And this is how it works. The moment we enter the next room, we will get pushed by this bullet bill on the Lakitu cloud and go crazy fast. Remember to jump at the arrows, that's the way to live here. Awesome. Okay, in the next room we're actually going to go to the left. For some reason this works a little bit differently. As you can see, the bullet bill won't start pushing us the moment we move to the left. So this way we're actually moving on our own speed. It does not make it per se easier, but because of course I made the challenges a little bit harder. Like this over here. Okay, grab the key. Enter this pipe first. For a checkpoint. I don't see a flagpole, so let's get out of here quickly, because we're going to get chased by a Fanto. An extra way to get chased. The Super Mario Bros. 2 key, which will make a Fanto chase us. But once again, we're being pushed by Bill Blaster. Jump at the arrows. And reach the door. Okay, that went easy. A lot easier than I remembered. But anyway, hit this switch so the bob-bombs blow up this wall and we get the flagpole. Level 1 completed. And this is a stage where I remembered clear checking this one actually taking me a while. And for some reason I do it first try now. I wouldn't know how, but apparently I did. Okay, and once again, like with previous worlds, once again the first level was actually a pretty quick one. I always start off with a quickie. And the second one, Tracks Greatest Hits. This one is a little bit longer. As the name suggests, how many ways can you think of to play around with tracks in this game? Of course, being a very important asset when it comes to level designing, the tracks and different ways to use them. Like this claw, for instance, and of course the on and off switches that you can use in order to go in certain directions. This stage is basically a best of. Multiple things back in the day. It's a pretty old stage, so while I was playing through Course World a couple of years back, it's a pretty old course, so that's the reason why it's a couple of years back. But still, I was playing through Course World, seeing other people's levels, and a lot of ways to play around with tracks actually stood by me. So at some point I actually decided to make a best of all different ways to play around with tracks and inputting them in one single stage. A claw on a track being the first one. The second one, enemies on tracks, which we can use in order to traverse the tracks. You don't always have to use platforms, you can always put enemies on it, like this Wiggler for instance. Okay, this is also something I met up with at some point. Also something I use briefly. Next up, being bombarded by thwomps while trying to survive on a platform. Most of these things actually only have a very brief coverage, as you can see, but still I try to make use of as many of them as I can. Later on I actually found way more things to play around with tracks and platforms, but I never bothered to recreate another level with it. I thought this one was still fine enough. But this first room is actually mostly introduction. The real bulk and the real best ways to use as a theme when it comes to tracks actually get used in the later rooms after the checkpoints. We start off with a couple of simple basic things, as you can see. But okay, now that we're here, let's finally get started with the real level. I was pretty sure I hit a 1-up up there, but apparently not. Okay, let's get started with the Monty Mole sandwich. One of my favorite level ideas that I actually found at some point. Giving a teeter-totter platform, a seesaw. Put bullet bill blasters on both sides of it with Monty Moles in them. This is actually pretty difficult. The best way to deal with this is try to stay in the middle and get rid of the Monty Moles as quickly as possible, because otherwise you're going to make your life on this seesaw a pretty big hell. And always try to stay in the middle of them, because you always run the chance of being pushed off or getting squished, so no matter what happens, try to stay in the middle here. It's the best way to try to stay alive. And when the bill blasters go up, try not to get these Monty Moles to land on top of you. Once again, first try, but trust me, it's pretty difficult. Okay, and the next part is actually this. We are squished between two bullet bill blasters, no way to move. There's nothing we can do other than jumping. Something we actually need to do, because otherwise we're squished. Also one of the more original things I found out at some point. Placing two bill blasters on a track in such a way that your character actually fits in between them, and the bill blasters actually push you around. A way to create auto-scroll in a sense, you might say. Also pretty interesting idea. And yeah, I knew there was a 1-up somewhere. This is where I hit it. Okay, and the final one, my favorite one. The wave. Remember the skull platforms? If you input them like this, and start running on them, this effect can happen. A wave of skull platforms. Looks amazing. And therefore something I did not want to skip out on this track's greatest hits. I think of all the ways you can play around with tracks, this is the greatest hit. But okay, that was it. Fun little course. More of a compilation course, you might say, because of the different ideas that are in it. But it still counts as a course. Okay, number 3. Still haven't died yet. Hopefully that will stay that way. For course number 3 we get... Help me, Junior. Okay. Help me, Junior. And what is the gimmick of this stage? Bowser Jr. Yeah, the Junior in the stage name actually indicates Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr., of course, being known as an enemy, as a boss. However, there are multiple ways you can use him. Not just as an enemy, but sometimes as an asset. All the Bowser Juniors we find in the stage we don't want to kill, we want to use them in order to progress. In this case, hit him once so he enters his shell, so he breaks open this block for us, so we can continue. Get the idea? Over here, we want to kill this Goomba for a key. However, we can't reach the Goomba ourselves. But he can. Thank you. I knew you were a good guy all along, Bowser Jr. Why would you use this guy as a boss? Because you can also use him as a platforming mechanic. Ooh, here he comes. Jump on him. Timed correctly because of his parachute. He flies irregularly. But okay, here we have a very interesting room. As you can see by the coins, Z. Here we want to use the spin jump in order to get on top of his shell. And use that in order to get here without getting hit. So we can break open this block and move on. And there is one more way to play around with this guy. You might have noticed he always shoots fireballs at us. And those fireballs we want to use now. Because we can't reach these bob-ombs in here, but he can with his fireballs. This middle one can be tricky to hit because, yeah, as you can see, he has a tendency to stay in the middle a lot. But hopefully we're able to lure him to the left or right so his fireballs can actually reach this middle bob-omb. Oh, let's try not to die in the meantime. Come on. Okay, he doesn't seem to want to cooperate, so I'll just try to force him out. Okay, I think a better way to actually force him to go somewhere else is to actually hit him. Try to jump on top of him so he enters his shell and starts following us around. If we do that... This way, as you can see, he will go to the right, so you can use that trick in order to lure him to a different location, so he can actually angle his shots in such a way so he can open up this final part of blocks. Let's try not to get hit. We don't have a power-up, so we die immediately if we hit him. We're using him as an asset, as a platforming mechanic. However, he's officially still an enemy, so he can still kill us if he hits us. Okay, and for this final one, use him in order to reach the flagpole. And that's it. Fun little gimmicky platforming stage. Bowser Jr. is not just an enemy, you can also use him in order to platform. Okay, stage number 4. 0 deaths so far. Let's go see what we have next. Ooh, the blind jump. Also a pretty interesting idea I had at some point. If you know how certain platformers work, you know there's always a top of the screen, which you cannot go past. At least the camera can't go past, but we can. The blind jump actually makes use of this concept of being at the top of the screen and therefore the camera not being able to follow you off screen anymore. And therefore, jumping actually becomes a little bit of a guessing game. Crap. Death number 1. Okay, let's try this again. As you can see, we have a character that moves off screen the moment we jump. However, there are still jumps to make. And this going off screen while jumping is actually where the challenge comes in this stage. Just remember not to hold the Z button in the wrong way, so we do long jumps. That's something you can do in the Super Mario 3D World engine, of course. And in the meantime, try to jump correctly while we're not able to see completely where we're going. This first part of this room is actually introduction, because as you can see we're still pretty low. We only go off screen for a little while. However, at this point, as you can see, we go up 1 floor. And therefore, when we're jumping, we're off screen a little bit longer, making it even more difficult. And you guessed it, even this is not where it ends. It will go up 1 more level. However, I'm pretty sure it's in the next room. Okay, single block jumps, even slippery ones. And time for the next room. Here I actually start making use of semi-solid platforms. Because all of the regular solid platforms, you can only input one level below this one, but only the semi-solid platforms like these ones, and also the clouds, will also function as semi-solid platforms. These we can actually input at the very top of the screen, and therefore our jumps become fully invisible, you might say. We can't even see Toad's head anymore, even when he's not jumping. That's how blind these jumps are. And therefore, this is really challenging. Okay, still got it. The best way to try to deal with this is remember that your character is basically always at the middle of the screen. So try to get the point where you need to land to be on the middle of the screen. And you should be safe. That's the best way to deal with this. But okay, let's do one final blind jump to the flagpole. Bam! And let's finish this stage off. Only one death. And no, this one doesn't count. And it was because of a stupid long jump mistake. Not even because of the stage itself. The gimmick killing me. But me being a little bit of a clumsy fool with the Z button. But anyway, it counts. It counts as a death. Okay, no death videos aside, there's still a castle to do. The final stage of this world. Let's go. Oh, it's going to be auto castle. Okay, in that case I can lean back and let the level play itself. Hold right and Y and nothing more. Everybody who's playing on Course World on easy mode may remember this. You always find a lot of auto courses, levels that play themselves. I actually got inspired by that and also wanted to create one of my own. And this is actually the one. A level where you don't have to do anything other than holding the right button and the Y button in this case. Of course, a more known variant of the auto courses are courses where you don't have to do anything at all. But for some reason I always like playing around with running automatically a little bit more. That's the reason why I chose to do this one instead. But it did turn out a pretty fun course in all honesty. So all I can say is lean back and enjoy the show. When I designed this course, I actually wanted to go for a very interactive course where you actually go through multiple parts of the same room multiple times. We'll see what I mean in a minute, because we already passed the Bowser, however, we weren't able to defeat him. We were only a regular Toad after all. But we will meet him again. After this pipe, we will go back to this room, only this time in a little bit of a different way. We'll grab a Starman while getting bombarded by Bill Blasters. This time we can take out the Bowser. And we win. A very fun but still easy course, because you don't have to do anything other than holding two buttons the whole time. But it is a funny and interesting aspect that Mario Maker levels have had ever since the very first Super Mario Maker auto levels. Levels that get completed automatically. Most of them by holding nothing at all, doing absolutely nothing. And sometimes levels like these, where you actually hold a certain button combination and the level plays itself. But anyway, 19 minutes almost. Okay, unfortunately this one is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, it seems. But yeah, we're done with the first world already. There were a little bit of shorter courses in here. The introduction to Super Treecks Originals World Part 2, you might say. World 9 is completed. A couple of fun little courses, even one new one that isn't uploaded yet. So far, pretty much every single world has had one, I've noticed, so perhaps next time another one. See you folks next time when we go to World 10, which is World 2 of this world. Complicated business. But anyway, we're still not done yet. Hope you enjoyed, and see you folks next time. Treecks out.